I am going to relate a few things to y'all that I think we need to be thinking of as a group of individuals, and that's the key deal right there. We're all individuals. There isn't anybody in this room, I think, that's like a newbie who doesn't understand what's going on or what's been going on or how much it costs us or what's going to happen. We all have some idea in the back of our head. But what I did is, I don't, some of y'all know that I write the blog Christian Mercenary. That blog, I stopped kind of writing on it because I realized there was a point at which, because what my shtick was, basically was, hey guys, this is what's wrong. And I've been saying this for years and years and years. Guys, this is what's wrong. This is what, this is where it's unconstitutional. This particular thing, this phrase, this is the clause in the Constitution that it violates. These guys are way outside the bounds of what this country was founded on. Then I got into, okay, now these are the guys that are wrong. This is what they're doing that's wrong. This is everything. And it just got to be a point where I didn't have to say that anymore. You have the advent of Antifa, things like this. They are now in that Ocasio-Cortez. Mm-hmm. They are at the point where they are pointing at themselves. We are your enemy. We want you dead. We intend to kill you. Pete pointed out a billboard in Atlanta, right at the intersection of two of their major highways, and it says, race wars coming your way. Atlanta's on the front line. Oh, it's just a movie, but we're going to have one. But see, you have to understand that this is all communist. What they like to do is they like to say, oh no, you're a racist. You hate black people. Black people hate you because you hate black people. Oh, well, you're against women because you don't support abortion. So now it's the women against Christian people. And so this and this person against that person. But it's not that. That's what I'm trying to say. That's not what it is. What it is communists and people who believe in the republic. That's all it is. Everything else is noise. Everything else is deflection. Everything else is distraction, confusion. I don't know who I dislike because I don't like these people and I don't like those people and those people are doing, and my government and this and that. That's the point. They want, they need, they demand that disconnection from the true enemy. The true enemy are people who want to take not only your life, not only your money, not only your possessions, not only your humanity, but your children's humanity. The whole line. They don't want to kill you, they want to kill your bloodline. They want to kill anybody who thinks that they have a right. Oh no, I have a right. Kill him. That's the wrong thinking. That he has some leverage, some value, some power over our government. This is what they're saying to you. I realized at some point that they're doing that for me. They're pointing to themselves. I'm the enemy, I hate you, I want to kill you. I'll use any means, any justification on the periphery to do it. I will use African Americans to kill white people. Because the more white people are more likely to be Republican, the Republic. But they'll use that racial conflict to achieve their goal. They will use the abortionist conflict to achieve their goal, but it's all the same goal. And it's all aimed at you. And when you can see that clearly, that person is not just a pro-abortion, they're a communist. And they hate you, and they hate capitalism, and they hate liberty, and they hate your rights. They hate the idea that you have those rights, that you think you have those rights. This is why I'm here today, because this finally comes clear to me. I mean, good Lord, I don't know. I don't know how long I spent in the weeds. But it's clear to me today what the issue is. We were talking about if we can get pointed in the same direction. Anybody who stands between you and your rights and your sense of your own humanity and your line's humanity, and I don't care what color anybody is, never did, still don't. I want them to be Americans. I want them to value the Republic. I want them to value these things. But what I want you to understand also, it goes even deeper than that. They can't get rid of, they can't get their society without getting rid of yours. Your culture, your race, your beliefs, your dignity, your sense of what's right and wrong. And where you see that today, in big, bright neon letters, where you see that today is in this Kavanaugh hearing. See, what they went after was not Brett Kavanaugh. They don't care about Brett Kavanaugh. Brett Kavanaugh stands between their death cult desire to kill children. He stands in the middle of that. And guess what he is? Good, honest, decent Christian man. Must be killed. Must be killed. Destroyed. Annihilate. I mean, can you imagine? I swear to God. Can you imagine what his family is going through? Just because their dad stands between their death cult, the man to kill children, these poor children are going to, their grandchildren are going to read about how Brett Kavanaugh was the devil. And any spawn of his must be destroyed. Here's what they're coming after. And when you understand that, you start saying, this is when I started getting on communists, even though it sounds outdated in 1950s and all of that, I still, you have to name that which is the enemy. And that which is the enemy is communism, because communism is the destruction of the republic. And the destruction of the republic is the destruction of your rights. And the destruction of your rights is the destruction of your humanity. Unless you can say, I have the right to breathe, and I have the right to believe, and I have the right to speak, you have no humanity. You are a cockroach to them. That's what they call you. That's what the Hutus called the Tutsis. Cockroaches. Kill the cockroaches. That was the order. Kill the cockroaches. That wasn't racial. That was societal. And if they can get, if the powers that be can get your group to kill my group, cool. Because the only thing that matters is us and our power and our dominion over this country. Because this is land. On my way up here, I stopped to get gas. And there was a gal standing there in all of her social justice warrior armor. And she had a sign. And it said, seeking, let me make sure I get it right here. Seeking human kindness. Standing there, seeking human kindness. And I want to run her over. Okay, but I resisted. Because I'm a Christian. But I get going down the road a little ways and I'm thinking, why did you want to run her over? I mean, where did that instinct come? You're not that way. And she was only saying seeking human kindness. What the heck's the matter with you? And I'm trying to figure it out. I mean, I was like, shamefully, I was 100 miles before I figured it out. But I'm trying to figure out, where did that instinct come from? That's insane. That's insane. I'm sorry, it is. And I'm trying to figure out, why are you insane? And, of course, if you can figure that out, you're probably not. But I'm trying to figure this out. And you know what it came from? You know where it was? Human kindness is what she sought. Not God. Right? Not all kindness flows from God through God to me. You know how I figured it out finally? Because I'm a moron. I figured it out because I think, you know, every time I come across somebody in need, and God does say, this is where the politics and the religion get a little mixed here. God does say, what you do for the least of us, you do for your Lord. Right? And so I'm thinking, that's the least of us, I want to run them over. I don't want to run my Lord over. So where is the disconnect? Where it was is this whole concept also, I mean, everything was built into that. I mean, it doesn't seem like something that simple, that easy, would have all of these issues wrapped up in it, but it did. That instinct, that gut revulsion, that gut distaste is all wrapped up in this whole communist, socialist bailiwick. Because what she's saying is, ignore God, forget God. All goodness comes from man. All goodness comes from humans. Humanity gives us all goodness. And I'm like, no, that's not right. It does not. Humanity offers suffering, death, and debilitation. That's all we offer. That's who we are. In nature, by nature, we run around and kill each other and take each other's crap. That's what we do. This is our animal. The difference between us as an animal and us as a human being, a decent human being, is God.
Amen.
Right? He's the only thing, so they got to kill him. Got to get rid of him. Got to shame you as Christians. Make you unafraid to speak out in the public square because you might bring the message that the state does not control everything. That, I mean, you pay your taxes, they take your taxes, you know they're going to give it to people who you think are despicable, who are trafficking children. I mean, good Lord, if you think of the horrendous stuff that they do with our money, our name, and our justification, it is mind-boggling. And what they're doing to Brett Kavanaugh, as a minor little, teeny little aspect to this, is what they're trying to do to you. It's why they're trying to kill Donald Trump. Because like him, don't like him, politician, not, I don't care, it doesn't matter, because for the media, for the government, for the deep state, for everybody, Donald Trump represents our will. Because we blew up their whole rigging system in order to elect this guy without permission. And he cannot stand. This is what you're really facing. It's not all these ancillary little issues. Now, is the woman's right person who took orders and everybody got on the bus and they drove to Washington, D.C. and they stood out there in their little ridiculous hats? I mean, are they individually the enemy? No, but they're being used just as much as anybody else. You know, you get them all revved up over their particular cause and you send them off to destroy us. And they're like these little missiles. You know, these little human missiles that come and attack us individually. It is all part of the same thing. Because when I drive down and I run into these homeless, everywhere you go now, it's like an industry. I ask my God, yes or no? It's up to you, yes or no? So I'm there, you know, what we do for the least of us, we do for the Lord, right? Yes or no? Do I give them money or not? I think you'd be surprised. I get answers. I have driven past a guy, scam. You know? There's two things. There's one is you're being scammed. The other one is you're helping somebody, which is not Christian, remain in a destructive lifestyle. And that is not helping them. That is helping them to kill themselves. So I have to ask God, yes or no? Money or not? I have driven 15 miles past the guy and just gnawing at me. Why'd you go by him? Not good enough for you? Dirty? What's the problem? Huh? What are you doing? Just going, huh? Just blow him off? You know, he might be hungry. Don't care. Okay, just keep going. It's just further to turn around. And sure enough, I'm like, yeah! I don't have time. Drive back, pull what money is in my pocket, give the guy. I heard there was a, and this doesn't loop back. If you don't see it, say, how did that loop back, dude? And I'll tell you. I listened to this guy on some Christian radio program that said he had gone out to just experience homelessness and see what it was about. And just really did it. I mean, had no safety net, had no car somewhere, had nobody to come give him food if he didn't have food. He just went out to be homeless for a year. The deal was that we're going to do it for a year. It's 2 of them. Went out there and just was homeless. He said the only thing that really bothered him, he said part of it was the fact that there's no humanity involved. He said people just walk past him, you know. Won't make eye contact, don't want to hear your story, don't care. Just get past it. Just get past me. That's all you need to do. Everybody who comes by, they just need to get past it. He said, we didn't hold up signs, we didn't do anything. We just were homeless. Sometimes conspicuously homeless. He said, but the thing that really tore my heart out was I would go across from churches and the same thing. And a lot of that is couched in our sense of I'm not necessarily helping this person just because I give them money. I give them the means end by which to buy the heroin that kills them, DOA. That's not helping them. What is helping them? So there's always that internal combat in your head about whether you're doing a good thing or not. But he said, we would sit across from churches and everybody, he said, finally one guy came out. And we thought, oh, you know. So he comes down and he says, get away from here. Get away from here. You can't be away. You can't be here. You can't, just go, move along. He said he shooed him away, and they went away for a little bit, and then they came back and sat down. Well, meanwhile, the service was going on, no big deal. Guy came back out later and begged their forgiveness. Same thing. Same thing with him. As you go by, it hurts you. It makes you wonder, what are you doing? What are you doing right? What are you doing wrong? I tell you what, how serious this really is I was walking out of a convenience store, and there was a guy pushing a shopping cart. And I'm like, okay, yes, no, yes, no. You got a few minutes here because I'm busy. You know. Yes or no? I hear, give that man money. Give that man money. Okay. So I went over and gave him whatever was in my pocket. I'm like, well, how much? Oh, You do that and you realize that you're a Christian. And supposed to be. And this is one reason why I don't usually bring this up, is because I'm not a good Christian. You know, wish I were. So I'm no like, you know, pay attention to me, the Christian. Don't, you know, really don't look at me. I mean, just do what the Bible says, because that's your guidance, that's your leader. That's the place to go with these questions. But you have to recognize that being a Christian and being a patriot are the same thing. Because you have to realize that without the United States as constructed, with the ability and the idea, the concept anyway, no matter how valid it is today, when you look at the disease that we deal with, that without the United States, there is no home for Christianity. There's no sanctuary. They got sanctuary cities all over the place for illegal aliens. There's no sanctuary city for Christians. There's nothing without the ability to be free, to demand and say, no, this is what I am and I demand my humanity. without the ability to say that, without the ability to force the fact that you have the right to practice law any way you want to, regardless of their laws. They can make it illegal. What the heck difference does that make? Legal, illegal. What is that? I mean, when you look at, I mean, honestly, look at our society, and you look at our society, and you see what's going on in Washington, D.C. They overthrew the government a long time ago. All we're seeing is the little peak of activity of how they overthrew it and how confident they are in their coup. That's what we're seeing. Not that it happened, but that it's now obvious that it happened. And you ask yourself, well, I want to be a law-abiding guy, I want to be a decent human being, I want to teach my children right. Well, you can't. I mean, let me solve the issue for you. There is no United States of America. This is a communist country. This is how communists run countries. Look at any communist country in the world. This is how they run it. You don't get to say anything. If you do, we'll destroy you. We will sick our people on you. We'll sick the magazines, the newspapers, the television. We will destroy you. Go into a court of law sometime and say, I have rights. I had two guys. I'm a big seatbelt guy. Everybody laughs at me, you know, well, just wear the damn thing. Okay, well, all right, I can't. I do. Because I'm not going to fight that battle in North Carolina. You know, I won't wear it in Colorado because I will fight that battle there. I'm not flying over here to fight some seatbelt law. But the seatbelt law was the first time that the government told me, you don't get to make that decision, pal. That's ours. And we're telling you, put the shit on. That was when they took my humanity. And that's why I rebel against it. So I'm at one of my little seatbelt things, and I'm standing in front of the judge. And I said, well, sir, I have the right to make that decision for myself. All the lawyers. Okay? I mean, maybe that's what it takes. Everybody has to fight everything. Anything that is a wrong to you, that is anti-constitutional, that is anti-freedom, that is anti-humanity. Because, I mean, look, realistically, you look at all those people in Africa, okay? Did they have humanity? Are they given a sense of you're an individual and you're important? You know, the leaders of those countries don't care. I mean, there are some decent ones, but for the most part, they don't care about their people. They are just actually an annoyance. Because in most of those African countries, you have your industry, whatever it is, diamonds, gold, oil, whatever. There was one I heard a guy said, he said his only prayer, because I was dealing with some African Christians at the time, his only prayer was that his country didn't discover oil. It's the only thing he prayed. Please, God, don't let them discover oil in my country. Because what happens is oil companies come in, suck all the lifeblood out of this country, pay off the man on top. If you don't think that's how they want the United States to be, you're out of your mind. They can't wait for that day. That's what all this is about. I did have one of the things I wanted to get to was leadership. Okay, there's going to be, just so you all know, there's not going to be a Spartacus moment. You know? There's no I am Spartacus.
Will there be a Cory Booker moment at least?
In the fact that that's really a massively devalued Spartacus, perhaps. That might be there. And what is the biggest problem with this whole group? Why don't we just go out and just tear the dang thing down and rebuild it? I mean, I've been to enough of these things. I know there's enough of us. Yeah. But why don't we?
We got too much to
too much to lose, but it's leadership too, isn't it? I mean, look, if you saw somebody go out there and do something that just really, you knew that it was from our point of view, even if it was horribly destructive or vandalizing, and I've talked to my wife about Edward Abbey and some of that stuff. She says, oh, well, you wouldn't do vandalism, would you? I'm like, holy crap. Do you understand the issues here? You're worried about vandalism? Because we're obeying the laws of what? Now, this was supposed to be about, I had it listed down there, as the Permanent Apportionment Act of 1929. Do you know why that's important to me? Does anybody know what that is? Has anybody looked at what the schedule was and looked that up? You know what it is?
Yeah, we basically lost the ability to expand our representatives as we grew in population.
Exactly.
That was just taken from us because they didn't want to have to build a new building or something, probably.
Do you know what the Constitution says?
Well, the Constitution says that there ought to be X number of representatives.
Yeah,
per
you know what it is?
population.
30,000.
30,000, yeah. Yeah.
30,000. You want to see something up here? Colorado has about 3.5 million people. Right? Divided by 30,000. You know how many that is? 117. I rounded up. I should have rounded down because any representative ought to get like a negative points as far as humanity goes. But I gave him an extra point. I gave him a half point. I gave him a half human. 117. Okay, now you know what? Here's the difference. Here's the difference. You know how much that equates out to per representative? $700,000. You know what the difference is? What are the chances that you walking around in your society, in your town, your county, of 30,000 people, are you going to run into a representative on the street, grocery store, post office? Huh? No, you will. With 30,000 people? Oh yeah, I run into people I know all the time in a town of 30,000 people. And especially if I know who they are and I got a complaint. Boy howdy. 700,000? Holy moly, there's no way. That's why it's important. Because that guy represents you. If you're one of 700,000, he don't know you, don't care about you, nothing. You can't find him, you don't know where he is. He doesn't have your interest in mind. He has the probably 120,000 people who voted for him in mind. Okay? But out of 30,000 people, he needs those 5,000 votes. And if you're one of those 5,000 that voted for him, he's going to be responsible. At least he's going to be one of you. He's going to be from your socioeconomic area. 700,000 people, they're going to live on the hill and don't care about you, don't even shop where you do. 30,000 people, there's only 2 big grocery stores in a town of 30,000 people. In fact, almost all of them will go into Walmart. If there's 117 representatives in Colorado alone, what that comes out to is 10,000. I know I'm doing this all backward emotionally, but what it comes back to is that's how they stole your humanity the first time. They made you nothing. Nothing consequential to them. Don't need your vote, don't care, they have that figured out. I worked really hard with the Tea Party, man. I wasn't like really involved with them, but I wrote that book called The Constitutionalist for that very purpose, kind of give people an idea of how things are being violated and what it means and how you know, give you a little case law to cite when you talk to people about it, stuff like that. That's what it was all about. I worked really hard and elected Cory Gardner. Exactly. What a waste of time. What a waste of effort. Guy did what they all do. They get their little briefing.
Now we know.
They get their little briefing like Tom described, and they're your enemy. You are the problem. You are the cockroaches. If you want to accept that role, I can't help you. Can't help you anyway because I'm nobody. But you see what I'm saying? You got to help yourself. Now, what's the problem with all of us? We're all individualists. We're all, for the most part, self-sufficient. Make that part of who we are. Self-sufficiency, got all my stuff figured out. Got all my plans made. I know who I am. I got my stuff. Would like to help some other people a little bit here and there, but I'm not going to let them take advantage of me neither. Right? This is who we are. So, how do I know whether or not to follow John? How do I know whether or not to follow you?
I mean, it's tough. I think that, like a lot of situations, that everybody's in a room and say, nobody wants to ask that question, right? And the guy that wants to ask the question, and everybody says, yeah, you ask the question, and we'll go right up there and support you, right? And you end up asking the question, and nobody's there.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be that guy.
That's the old, for me, that's the old alley trick. It's a long story, but suffice it to say, I went into an alley with guys behind me facing some other guys, and I'm telling them how we're going to whoop their butts and all this, and we're not taking this anymore, and they're looking at me like I'm insane.
Because there's no.
Finally I go, what are they looking at? Oh. Okay, well I guess this is where I get my butt kicked because I just shot my mouth off. But a lot of our problem is if I line up behind you, we have our own integrity to protect. And if I line up behind you or you and you do something I think is morally reprehensible, then I've thrown in with you already. I can't get back out. The biggest message is we got to stop being afraid of that. I mean, I don't necessarily expect us to put that aside and just join up with anybody and just go toward Washington, D.C. or nothing. But Edward Abbey had something going on, the socialist communist that he was. Look, there's nothing wrong with taking good ideas from people who are diametrically opposed to you. I mean, they're like, if we can't do that, then we're just stuck with me. You know, I'm the best you got. Here we go. Charge. So we have to draw ideas from other people and see what works and what doesn't work and make it work for us. And if that means that you're a vandal, oh my God. It's like the famous words of Mike Vanderbilt, you know. What's a vandalism? I mean, I can do a personal recognizance bond on that, can I? I mean, this isn't going to like cost me prison time. And I'm not advocating vandalism. I'm saying we have to start look, if we're all going to be individuals and we're all going to run our own show and we're all going to do our own thing, that's okay. But do something. We have to put up some resistance to this because right now we're not. And we're getting just rolled over. We're getting Kavanaugh. The media, our representatives, everybody who should be our ally is our enemy. If we don't find some way to throw a monkey wrench into the works, I fear we lose our window of opportunity where it would have made a difference. A little bit. I don't want to interrupt you. Oh, well, go ahead.
I was saying, so we threw a monkey wrench in their plan by electing Donald Trump.
Right.
Right? So now what do we do next?
Find more Donald Trumps.
Yeah. You know what? I was never a big fan of the dude. But I got to tell you, you watch the assault that man takes on a daily basis by everybody lined up against him. And he just keeps walking out of that White House and doing his thing. Right, wrong, or indifferent, I don't know. The one thing I do want to talk to you guys seriously about is there's a book that Claire wrote and Kit Perez, Claire Wolf and Kit Perez, Basics of Resistance. I wrote a post on it a while ago. That book is something you really need to have in your hand and in your mind and in your hearts, because it talks about a lot of issues that would be helpful.
Say again the name.
Basics of Resistance. But the biggest, toughest thing we need to do is to be able to point fingers. That's a communist. I'll have nothing to do with that. They're a communist. You need to be able to say what it is. You need to be able to understand what it is. You need to be able to understand what's going on. It's not all these ancillary people attacking you. It is the idea that you are a human being, that you are a Christian. It's not always Christian though, but I mean just a human being who believes in the right of what's right and what's wrong. And that's what they're after. That's why they're making it so difficult to even know if you can go into that bathroom. Oh, let's see. Oh. Well, it says men, but I don't know that there isn't a woman in there now, because there might be a little kid, and then what? Then what? Then what? You know? That's ridiculous. And the reason it's ridiculous is because it drives you out of your comfort zone. It drives you away from what being an American is supposed to be, which is we have these rights and we're going to stand up for them, and there's big trouble between me and that right. So that's really all I had to say, but I felt it important to bring that message. So I don't know if I went over it before or what. But
you're fine. Questions?
Any questions?
Just have a comment.
Sure.
McCarthy was right.
Yeah. McCarthy was right.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Oh, one thing I will say, kind of off the record. I brought my novels out because we talked about it. They're westerns, basically. So you may not see the connection, but I think Pete was reading one.
They're relevant.
They're relevant
Today. Relevant to the stuff.
I wrote them
about
20
this
years
room.
ago. I had to get them. I had to digitize them so I could put them on Kindle. But I think they're relevant anyway. But I did want to clear that up.
If someone's time pressed and could only read one of your novels, which one would you recommend?
Read Shadow Soldier. It's the first one anyway.
What is it?
Shadow Soldier.
Shadow Shows?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I really wish I would have known that before I went on the book tour and talked to the professional radio guys who couldn't say it 3 times. They're like, shh, the book. Yeah. That's my life in it.
And just one follow on why I say it's relevant, because written from the point of view of an individual raised right in a world where that doesn't matter or seems not to matter anymore.
I think Pete's right, but I think what's relevant about the novels is, even though I wrote them in '97, all of this was here. All of these political things were gnawing at the back of your mind, even in '97. But one of the things I think that it brings out is that Shadow Soldier discusses the Christian nature. And the oddest thing about the whole thing was I wasn't a Christian then. It wasn't. But I had to write a character who grew up in the Deep South in 1840s, 1850s. You're telling me that was not a Christian person? I don't know. I don't know how that would work. Deeply Christian. And I had to put him out into the frontier where there's chaos. Sound familiar?
Yeah.
And he has to wrestle with these issues. How do I remain a Christian and do what I need to do to stay alive? And these are the questions I'm struggling with today when I'm driving down the road and I have to like, how do I be a Christian and still be a good American? somewhere you have to violate that a little bit. I don't know if you come back for absolution later. Please God absolve me for the horrible, wicked things I had to do to take care of the communist influx that were trying to drive you out of my nation. But somewhere you got to square it. I'm still trying, so it takes you a while.